Welcome to Future of the Business World. I'm Diana Drake with the Wharton Global Youth Program at the Wharton School, University of Pennsylvania. Each month on this podcast, I speak with innovative high school students from around the world. We share stories of entrepreneurship, grit, inspiration, and impact. It's an exploration of the entrepreneurial mindset, and we always take away insights about business, people, and purpose. We've published 58 previous episodes, which you can listen to on Spotify, the Wharton Global Youth Program website, or wherever you get your podcasts. Today's guest was a student this summer in Wharton Global Youth's online Future of the Business World program. During her time learning with us, she told us about her passion for improving financial education for young people in Latin America. I'm looking forward to talking with her more about that today. Chelsea Rojas, welcome to Future of the Business World.
Hi, thank you for having me.
It's great to see you. And first, I want you to tell us a little bit about yourself, where you live and where you go to school.
Yes, well, my name is Chelsea. I'm 17 years old. I'm a senior student at Nova Schools in Lima, Peru, and I live with my parents and my younger brother in Villa El Salvador, a district full of energy, resilience, and above all, entrepreneurship. And I would like to emphasize the word resilience because Villa El Salvador was founded by immigrants, people who were escaping the terrorism that Peru faced. And I feel very proud of my district. It has shaped a lot of my values because in just 50 years, through collective organization and popular leadership, secured housing, schools, and public services for us. And for that, he has received like several international recognitions, such as the Prince of Asturias Award for Concord. And I'm very proud of what we have achieved. Here I grew up surrounded by small shops, local startups, and street stands. So it is literally impossible not to feel the entrepreneurial spirit of my community. And that was my first approach to that business environment, which continues to inspire me every day. I am also passionate about the arts and social entrepreneurship. This year, I've been focusing more on building my entrepreneurial path, but I also have a strong background in arts. I've been dancing since I was 3 years old, training for over 12 years, and I have been acting for the past 4 years, including participating in an independent science fiction movie.
Wow, that's wonderful to hear. And I'm so happy to hear about the fact that you're kind of surrounded by entrepreneurial energy. And I wanted to ask you a little bit more about that because I think it actually starts in your family. So your father's an entrepreneur. What does he do exactly? And also, can you tell us how watching your father's entrepreneurial struggles helped to shape your vision for financial education?
All right, this will be a long response. I have a lot of things to say here. As you said, my father has always been an entrepreneur at heart. From a young age, I remember seeing him testing new ideas, launching startups, and always thinking how to improve them. So currently, he's running a cat litter startups, which I think is the most creative one he has ever launched. And he came with that idea in a very casual conversation. He was with his friends and they were talking about their pets, specifically about cats. And their friends were basically comparing cat litters, brands, their quality, textures, and which one works best for them in terms of absorbing the bad smell. And all this was very new for my father. But in that conversation, he quickly realized that cat litter is absolutely essential in every cat household, meaning like there was a big market of people who were always going to need it. And at that moment, we were in the middle of the pandemic, and he was looking for a new business idea because his previous venture had closed down. And he decided to get involved in this. And he wanted to build a cat litter startup. However, from the beginning, I remember that he told me that as this product was widely used, competition would be everywhere. So if he wanted to enter the market, he had to find out a way to stand out. And I saw him then many nights staying awake, brainstorming, researching, and analyzing how he could differentiate his brand. And that's when he came across a key insight, that is, that male and female cats actually have different urine compositions. And that discovery opened his eyes. And he questioned, what if the litter cat was personalized depending on the sex of each cat? And that's how Gato Clean was born. He created two different formulas, for one for females and one for males, with specific components that work best for each case. And later, he started selling in small shops in our community. And customers were very curious because nobody else was offering something like that in the market. And my dad knew it. He knew that people tend to humanize their pets, in many cases, treating them like beloved children. So they would love tailored products for them. But of course, the hardest part came later. That was scaling the business, because marketing, reinvesting profits, managing logistics, those were things he didn't have the opportunity to study. And I could see how much he struggled. He tried to push the brand on social media, but didn't know how to engage and reach his target audience. He also got overwhelmed keeping track of sales manually, deliveries, and customer records, because he didn't yet have a system to organize the business and measure what was working and what wasn't. But although um, what has always impacted me about my dad and shaped my mindset is his willingness to not wait until having all settled. He prepares himself when he doesn't know something and dives into the pool, which, if you think about it deeper, that's the only way for you to step out of your comfort zone. Otherwise, you will never feel prepared enough for diving into unknown. And I have this message recorded in my mind all the time when he told me, do not be afraid of things going wrong or of facing rejection, because this happen only when you're taking action and moving forward. If you stay in the same place, nothing will change and nothing will ever go wrong because you're not advancing. And that blew my mind. Today, he has managed to keep Gatoclean alive. He has expanded this beyond our district and has started selling in other parts of our country. And that that entrepreneurial journey of my dad was my first exposure I had about the lack of financial literacy. But that's what also made me realize that this wasn't a problem of one, it was an issue affecting millions, because that made me to be more observant about the reality around me.
Fascinating. Yeah. And I have cats, so this just sounds like really finding a niche in the market, and it sounds like you did a wonderful job with that. So I want to talk a little bit more about entrepreneurship with you, in a different sense, I guess. You also applied to entrepreneurial programs because you got the bug, right? You observed your dad and all the wonderful things that were going on. So you applied to some programs like Wharton Global Youth, but couldn't afford them despite acceptances. What did that tell you about financial and entrepreneurship education as a privilege and not a right in Peru?
This year, I wanted to expand my knowledge in this field, which motivated me to start applying to several pre-college. entrepreneurial programs, and I got into several of them, which was very exciting. But when I received the financial aid decisions, I was disappointed because I didn't receive the scholarship I needed. And despite all my family's efforts, we couldn't cover the costs, and I had to withdraw. And that was both frustrating and heartbreaking, because I really wanted those opportunities to educate myself financially. And a few days later, I wrote an email to those universities asking for reconsideration, please. And the universities responded that they had run out of funds due to the high demand of financial aid and couldn't offer me more, which made me realize that many students like me might have been accepted in those programs, but without the support they needed. And I remember that in those days, I was very lost because, as financial literacy is not a right in many emerging countries, it is not included in our curricula. And when people try to get that knowledge from abroad, they are still limited. And as a result, I thought that my generation would remain stuck in the painful pattern of launching a business that is like they struggle, close down, and sometimes restart, but only to face the same cycle again. And after launching my nonprofit, which is called FindWise, as my last attempt, I applied to the Future of the Business World program of the Wharton Global Youth because I felt very aligned with its focus on building human-centered enterprises. And I didn't expect to receive full ride. Um, and I could hardly believe when I read my financial aid decisions saying that I got a full scholarship. Like that was fantastic. I just couldn't believe it. Um, and I was so excited because I understood that I would be completely focused on learning and enjoying this program to the fullest without worrying about financial limitations. The first day of the program, I was very nervous, but then I realized that I should be calm because I was working with like-minded peers, learning about what I was passionate about, and receiving the full support of the TAs and mentors. And this made the experience very transformative because I also participated in business simulations and working teams to build a human-centered business while taking into account the steep trends of the future. So yeah, I'm very grateful to the program for giving me this opportunity and investing in me.
So now it's time to talk about that that wonderful venture of yours. You were inspired to take action and you started your own NGO, which is called FinWise. Am I pronouncing that correctly?
Yes, well, it's a merge between Spanish and English because FinWise, the part of fin comes from finanzas, which is finance in Spanish, and wise, well, you know the word.
Yes. And so, can you tell us more about it? What is the origin story?
Um, the origin of my nonprofit began after applying to those programs that I had to withdraw because that setback made me pause and reflect for a while. And I asked myself, what am I waiting? What am I looking for opportunities to educate myself financially when I could create my own. And not just for me, but also for our generation who, like my dad, deserves access to this financial education. I realized that no matter your field of interest, whether you are passionate about STEM, arts, law, or literature, whatever, in a globalized economy, knowing how to manage your finances and monetize your skills is essential. That's how ThinkWise was born. What started as a personal frustration became in a youth-led NGO, which means a non-governmental organization that provides financial literacy resources to underserved communities and young people in Latin America. So our work is based in three pillars that are entrepreneurship, investment, and personal finance. And we expand access to this education through webinars, bootcamps, challenges, ebooks, and our social media content. For example, we have organized an investment bootcamps and created spaces where young people can gain the knowledge they need to pursue their projects with confidence. And well, in when I launched ThinkWise, I was also focusing on the SDGs that are the Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations. I learned about this during my participation in La Compañía, a unit achievement competition that encourages students to build companies addressing those SDGs. And in that opportunity, my team addressed the SDG 3 by creating a lunchbox with a refrigeration system to preserve food. But in this case, the mission of ThinkWise strongly aligns with SDG 4, 8, and 10, which are quality education, decent work and economic growth, and reduced inequalities. And these goals give us a global framework and remind us of our objective when trying to decide what's next for FinWise.
So, what impact have you had with FinWise in Peru?
Yes, well, we have impacted 1,600 yachts across 10 countries because we make all these events virtually through our bootcamps and the content we publish, which not only motivates them, but also shares important financial insights, such as the story of the economy, how to track monthly savings, and the use of credit cards, among others.
Um, do you have a story or two that might reflect or illustrate some of the work that you've done and how individual students' lives have been changed?
Yes. Well, first of all, I think that the most impacted students are the ones who have attended our bootcamps because they go beyond theory. Participants have the opportunity to evaluate their learning, join competitions where they can win personalized mentorships, and most importantly, connect with peers from around the world because they share their money stories, their struggles, and goals regarding financial freedom and entrepreneurship. And through our satisfaction forms, we have received like many responses highlighting how this exchange is transformative for them because students from emerging countries share the challenges they face, which makes others from more privileged backgrounds aware of the opportunities they sometimes take for granted. And at the same time, everyone is learning from each other's economic realities across Latin America. But um, specifically, one powerful example of how Fengway transforms the understanding of finance, I would say that it comes from a girl who shared her testimony after one of our seasons in an investment bootcamp. And she said that she believed that saving money was always the best approach. However, she learned that while short-term saving is helpful for specific goals like buying a new phone, long-term saving exposes money to the risk of inflation, which reduces its value over time. And this changed her perspective on the importance of investing as a protection mechanism against inflation. Um, she also realized how small daily habits can silently accumulate and limit financial growth. And she loved learning concepts like good versus bad debt, learning how even a giant company like Coca-Cola manages its obligation strategically. And I know that this might seem like basic knowledge, but she didn't know it. And she gained all this in just our first season of the bootcamp. By the end, she said that she felt like ready to start investing for long-term security and growth. So that was a really impactful experience.
Great. So what's next for FinWise and what's next for you? So you've had this wonderful summer with Wharton Global Youth program. You did our Future of the Business World program online, and ideally it helped to empower your entrepreneurial spirit a little bit. So can you talk about, where you're going from here?
Yes, we want to launch an international hub, which is an online library where they could just provide with financial literacy ebooks. Um, Beyond that, we're working on competitions we call research challenges where peers from around the world could share their insights. So our goal is to transform those contributions into dynamic interactive ebooks designed with images and colors so that young people who are just starting to explore the economic world feel engaged, interested, and well, motivated to learn. In this way, this hub will not just like be a place to read, but a platform for conversation and deeper understanding. On the other hand, we have partnered with EcoSTEM, an NGO that expands STEM education. And we want to merge entrepreneurship and STEM in a prestigious university in our country. We are organizing our first face to face bootcamp. And we're working on this very carefully because we know that there are several logistical aspects we need to consider.
Um, you said something to me over the summer that really resonated with me. You said you believe that young people don't need to wait for perfect opportunities, they can create them. And you mentioned that earlier in our discussion today, too. Tell me more about what you mean there. Sounds like you have discovered that,
Yes,
you need to make
yes.
it happen and take action.
Yes, well, for me, as you said, people don't have to wait for perfect opportunities. We can create them ourselves. I experienced this personally when I felt devastated and limited by my country and our economic situation. We couldn't access a strong financial education, and when I tried to learn from abroad, the economic barriers limited me again. And that's why when I say that we can create opportunities, I mean that if things don't go as planned, we need to accept it, pick up the lesson from that experience, and move forward. For me, creating opportunities shouldn't be just for my own benefit, but also for the benefits of others. And because when you impact people, you also grow and you learn from both education and experience. So, knowing that you are able to create your own opportunities makes you feel in charge and responsible for your future. Because if we believe that your opportunities are always limited by external factors, then you will get disappointed, you will face depression, or even think that there's nothing you can do. When in reality, you should have the perspective that you can change things because that mindset is what makes all the difference.
Wonderful. All right, so why don't we end with our lightning round? Why don't you answer these questions as quickly as you can? Would you suggest Instagram or LinkedIn for networking?
Instagram, it lets you know the person beyond the professional side.
Finwise is a superhero. What is its superpower?
It's a strong commitment and resilience to keep pushing forward, even when it's not always taken seriously.
Do you prefer spreadsheets or storytelling?
Storytelling, definitely.
The biggest startup mistake you have learned from?
Taking loyal customers from for granted.
What is something about you that would surprise us?
Um, Before becoming a change maker, I overcame eating disorders that once led me to be hospitalized.
Oh, I'm very sorry to hear that. But you look very healthy and happy now, so that's good to know.
Thank you.
When was the last time you did something for the first time?
About 20 minutes ago, this interview, I had never been, yes, I had never been featured on a podcast before, especially in my non-native language. I speak Spanish.
You are starting a business-themed talk show. Who is your first guest, and what is your first question?
Howard Schultz, I would ask him when you first envisioned Starbucks becoming more than just a coffee shop, what was the boldest risk you took that others around thought that it would fail?
Chelsea Rojas, thank you for joining us on Future of the Business World.
Thank you.